up, my wizards? It's Dev from MTG. Usually we have decks. Today we have a list, something I've been asked for a few times, and I love doing exactly this list. So today we're going to do the top 10 underused, underappreciated, whatever cards in Standard. Cards that maybe should see some play, but why don't they? But first, before we go over that, I'm going to go over a few things that didn't make the list and maybe why they don't see much play in Standard. Things that we can easily explain, you know? First of all, Pian Karan and Shaman of the Great Hunt don't see much play because Red already has a ridiculous 4-drop in Thunderbreak region. White 4-drops like High Sentinels, really good 4-drop there. And even Kithian's Irregulars don't see much play because we have Gideon as an amazing 4-drop, and there is another white 4-drop, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Shaman of Forgotten Ways is bad right now because ramp decks are moving more towards land ramp like Explosive Vegetation and Nissa's Pilgrimage, and away from mana dorks like Rattleclaw Mystic and Whisper of the Wilds. Sword of the Animist is bad because 2-color decks don't really care that much, and 3 to 5 color decks don't play that many basics, and that's even taking into account the fact that battle lands need basics. I mean, even the 4 and 5 color decks only play like 5 basics most of the time, so Sword of the Animist, nah. Undergrowth Champion is a good one, but it'd be way better if we were in a format that relied on something like Lightning Strike as removal. Instead, we have Silk Wrap, and 9 times out of 10 they can Silk Wrap this before it gets too out of control. Undergrowth Champion probably could have almost made the list, but in a format with Silk Wrap, it's just the Noyan Dar is bad because it comes down too late and it doesn't do anything the turn it hits the board most of the time. And if you're in blue-white color combination and you've got 5 mana, what are you going to play? This or the Dragon? Mirror Mockery is pretty bad, although it could be good. It doesn't even see play in Modern. I don't know why, but Mirror Mockery is bad because it really doesn't have as many good targets in Standard as it needs to be good, although the Sidisi's Fateful Trick is good. Chandra is just straight up bad right now, regrettably. There's really no flipping her the turn she comes out, and on subsequent turns, she's you have to do a lot of work to flip her. Chandra just needs to be a little better. She's just like not as good as any of the other, Origins Planeswalkers, and that's kind of lame. Living Lore seems pretty good right now with Dig Through Time, Treasure Cruise in the format, all these big mana costing spells, and you get like a 4 mana 7/7 or whatever. Sounds awesome, just doesn't work. You gotta do a lot to get this guy to do what he's supposed to do for you. And sure, you can get a big dude, but he's just gonna get removed. And, I wish it was like when he left the battlefield, recast the spell, but having to do combat damage just really hurts. And finally, a weird one, Vampiric Rites. A lot of people ask about that card. It doesn't see play because you have to spend mana to sacrifice creatures? Gross. And my honorable mention, this is Mythrealize, before I get into the cards in earnest here. Mythrealize is always criminally underused. I don't know why more people don't play this card. Like, it doesn't even see play in all the Starfield decks that you see going around. It does see play in some decks that want to do Starfield of Nyx, but for the most part, this card has seen almost no play for its entire lifespan, and people keep saying, blue-white control or Jeskai, but just no one seems to play the thing. It's a fine card, even when it's only like a 2/2 or a 3/3. The card seems good, I have liked it when I've played it. I like the card. I don't get why it doesn't see more play. That means we can actually start the top 10 list, you guys. I don't know if you're ready. Number 10 on my list is Brutal Horde Chief. Now, there's plenty of reasons to explain why the card isn't great in Standard right now or isn't played that often. That's why it's number 10, because we have a pretty good idea of why not. Everyone kept saying that when Lightning Strike left the format, this card would be a boss, and I think it is a little bit better because Lightning Strike isn't in the format. But Silk Wrap is sort of the same argument against Undergrowth Champion, But the whole reason I put it on the list over Undergrowth Champion is because I really just want Black-White Warriors to be a thing for the last few months that it's able to play in Standard. The clock is really ticking on that deck. We're going to lose our Chiefs, we're going to lose Bloodsuck Champion and stuff. We're going to lose a lot of important cards for the deck, and it's just not even going to be a viable strategy at all. It won't be an archetype after Khans rotates, and Fate Reforged. So we've really got to play this deck while we have the 5 months remaining to be able to play it. And I think the Brutal Horde Chief is in a position now to where it can be a good 4-drop, It had some buzz before the rotation, and then that just sort of fell flat. Number 9 on my list is Impact Trimmers, another card that has just not seen all the play it really should see. Right now, Red's 2-drop of choice is probably Abbot of Carol Keep, but Red is not actually that thick on 2-drops right now, and the format is really mid-rangey. I could see sort of trading our 2-drop. We don't get a great initiative play or initiative boost out of our 2-drop when we play Impact Trimmers, but we get a really good advantage out of sort of going wide in the mid-game, which is what a lot of decks want to do right now. We've got Gideon. Some people are talking about Retreat to Emeria. Dragon Fodder is still important. Hordling Outburst is still played in the format. Secure the Waste is starting to secure its place, rhymes, in the format. So I could definitely see something like Impact Trimmers being a card, and a lot of people like it. I think it's great in budget decks. I've played Impact Trimmers in more than one thing, and it's always been really, really good in this format. I don't think that your 2-drop is that important Although against some decks it could be. But all I'm saying is red is a little thin on the 2-drops, and it usually plays, you know, blue or white to play Jace or Seeker or Soulfire or something like that along with Abbott. If we're just playing mono red or red splash another color, something like this, yeah, really, really good in the right deck. Number 8 is Clever Impersonator, a card on a lot of people's lists for like, why don't we play this card? You know, it has been since it came out, honestly. Clever Impersonator just looks really good to me. We're playing a lot of Planeswalkers right now, which, you know, Clever Impersonator is really, really good when they're playing Planeswalkers. If you can't, you know, if you can't beat them, join them in some ways. We can't afford Jace. Let's just make our own Jace, you know, once they flip him. So I feel, and he copies into the battlefield effects, you know, so he's good against things like Siege Rhino and a bunch of the other cards in the format. So I really don't see a reason why we wouldn't play like a one-of sideboard Clever Impersonator against some things, especially considering like Ugin is an important card in the format right now. Ulamog is important in like red-green ramp, so it's probably Clever Impersonator better than it's ever been, and people have always been like, why don't we play this? Number 7 is going to be Mardu Ascendancy, and I could just say all Ascendancies other than Jeskai, you know, but I think that Mardu Ascendancy is sort of a cut above the rest, but still a cut below Jeskai Ascendancy in the current format with all the things we can do with a Jeskai Ascendancy. But there's a lot of stuff we can do with a Mardu Ascendancy too. You know, Mardu Tokens looks like a really, really viable strategy in the format. Mardu Aristocrats, that uses a lot of tokens too, also seems really good, and obviously something like this would be dope in Mardu Aristocrats. The problem is, we've already got a lot of 3-drops in that deck, and Tuco Husk is one of them, plus a few other cards, so we're really running high on 3-drops in that deck. But it just looks to me like it could lead to huge blowout plays with Nantuko Husk and Zulaport Cutthroat in play, so both in tokens and aristocrats, I can see Mardu Ascendancy really, really being good. Why aren't we doing that? Number 6 is Reality Shift, and I know this is a much maligned card. It's really, really polarizing. A lot of people love it. A lot of people absolutely hate it and think that people that like it are really dumb. Now, so right now, though, I think there's a really good case for Reality Shift in the format. Really good against Hangerback Walker, can kill Jace before he flips. That's really important. And in like control, like when you're playing against like control decks or maybe even Jeskai decks, there's just not a ton of creatures in those decks, so it's entirely possible that when you hit Jace with a Reality Shift or a Hangerback Walker with a Reality Shift, you're going to get them to manifest a card. Sure, they get a creature out of the deal, but it's not Jace, it's not Hangerback, and they don't get the tokens off Hangerback Walker. That's really good. But in any case, it's likely going to be a spell they can never flip up. That's awesome. And right now, a lot of decks that want to play Reality Shift are sort of above 2/2s. They don't care that much about 2/2s, but they do want to get rid of Jason Hangerback as easily as possible, not to mention things like, you know, Manus Rider and a bunch of other creatures. So I could see Reality Shift actually being important right this second, but for some reason it's not. Number 5 is a weird one. It's a little out of left field, but I know I have some people on my side here. Number 5 is Segu Mauler. We see that Silumgar, the Drifting Death, and Ojutai are both great creatures, mostly because of their hexproofing. Obviously, Ojutai can anticipate for you. Silumgar can kill small dudes when he swings in. These are awesome pieces of icing and make the cards what they are. Segu Mauler doesn't have all that icing, but it's still a creature that you can play on the 3rd turn and then flip up at the end of their turn. In combat, you can psych them out, making them think that you have a Den Protector, Stratus Dancer instead. I have a 6/6 trample hexproof. And sometimes in Sultai or in Temur Megamorph, you will see one copy of Segu Mauler, but I think he's definitely still way underplayed. The card looks really, really good to me. Number 4 is Archangel of Ties. Now, I know I did say High Sentinels and Kithians Irregulars don't see play because we have better 4-drops in Gideon, you know, but this is the other amazing white 4-drop, and right now, 3 white is not that hard to get. I've played a lot of Jeskai, played a lot of Abzan, and both those decks make white mana very easily. We can have this on the 4th turn a lot of the time, so it's not that big of a deal. Archangel of Ties, especially in like a mono-white thing, I could see this being an important card. It's just a lot of decks attack for the win right now, and that makes this really awesome. I don't see why this card doesn't see more play. Sometimes you'll see it as a 1 or even 2 of in some sideboards, but even then, not very often. Archangel of Ties looks to me like it was designed to be a very playable card, and maybe we'll have to wait for a rotation or something, but right now I really don't get why this card isn't played. It's awesome. Number 3 is Sarkhan Unbroken, and he's made his way a little bit farther down the list than some people might like, but I've played a lot with Sarkhan. A lot of 4 and 5 color decks in the format will play Temur colors right now, and I just don't see why you don't see more Sarkhan. Again, sometimes you'll see him as a 1-of in some decks, but right now, the big deck that plays Temur colors is Temur Megamorph, and that's sort of a B-tier deck, and it doesn't really play Sarkhan, you know? I don't see why. In a lot of decks, especially the 5 color decks, I could see a 1-of Sarkhan Unbroken. Every time I've played him, his +1 is actually really, really relevant. relevant for fixing mana, and it gives you card advantage, which is awesome in 5-color decks, which are usually more control-based, really good for that. Not only that, but he makes you a threat. That's insane. He just puts a huge flyer out there for you. And even when his ultimate isn't necessarily applicable for the deck you're playing, he's still dope, and I'm not really sure why Teamer Dragons doesn't see more play. That deck looks amazing to me. Number 2 is Dragon Lord Dromoka, which does see 1 or 2 of play in Naya Eldrazi, but that deck is really not that important right now. It's sort of B tier, on the same level as another deck this goes in, Ban. It's on the same level as Ban, and really the same level as Teamer, sort of the B tier of 3-color combinations, and Dromoka doesn't see as much play as I want him to, Ban looks really, really strong to me, and I'm not sure why it's sort of struggling right now. It does place occasionally in top 8s, but you don't see Bant as much as you see sort of the Abzans and the Jeskais of the world. But just Dragon Lord Dromoka looks insane to me. Control has a decent presence in the format, so there's that. The lifelink on the card really puts it over. Just every time he swings in, he's going to do a lot for you, whether he gets blocked or not. So Dragon Lord Dromoka is just an uncounterable, huge threat in the air that gives you, huge lifelink swings. Why aren't we playing him? He looks good to me. And number 1, the most underused, underplayed, why aren't we playing this card in the format, to me at least, is Sidisi Brood Tyrant. A weird choice, right? But hear me out. The Sultai color combination is just totally underplayed for no reason to me right now. Right now, Sultai has Den Protector, Jace, and Tasigur, the 3 cards in the format that bring stuff back from your graveyard really, really effectively. And that all works with Sidisi, not to mention all 3 of those cards are creatures, meaning they work well with Sidisi in that way too. And if we mill them into our graveyard, we don't really care because Tasigur and Den Protector, later copies of those cards, can bring back any cards that we dump into the graveyard. So right now Sultai with Sidisi looks pretty darn good to me. And before I move on, there's another deck, Sultai Aristocrats, which can play all 3 of the creatures I just mentioned plus Sidisi, and turn 2 Zulaport Cutthroat, turn 3 Nantuko Husk, turn 4 Sidisi sounds like a really good play sequence to me, especially when you rip a bunch of cards off the top of your library and make creatures. Not to mention, Sidisi works really well with Kiora and Gather the Pack. Notice that they don't necessarily have, those cards work with Sidisi, you get the 2/2s. So, and Kiora, by the way, pretty underplayed too. She's a sort of honorable mention too. You see her enough though that she didn't make the list, There's a couple of cards, Kiora and Exert Influence, Hardened Scales, I think those see just enough play to where they didn't make this list. So sorry about that. I really wanted to put Exert Influence on the list, but in any case, Sidisi right here. She works well with Kiora. That's cool. She works well with Gather the Pack. She's awesome. In this color combination she's in, we've just got amazing cards. And I don't know why this lady doesn't see more play. Well, that's all I've got for now, and let me know about the 100 cards that I missed for the list. I know everybody's got their pet cards. They want to know why these cards don't see play. Really want to know how you feel about it, and maybe if I missed something, something huge, this is obviously why we're not playing this card, comment with that too. I'm always interested in that. If you enjoyed the content, do everyone a solid here. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Hit just the thumbs up button. It takes 2 seconds. It's awesome. We love when you do that. It's just really makes us feel great. We do a lot of work with this content. We want you to like it. I hope you did. I'm Dev from SBMTG. Budget deck incoming next time, and I will see you then. Thank you for watching my wizards.